Hey everybody, we are live. I'm now going to find my fellow loose men. Here we go. Where is he? Let's send him a message. Come on, Sonny. Hey Sonny, you there?
Hello, Neil. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you and I can see you, but I can't seem to find what's gone wrong here. Hang on a second. I have no idea what's going on here. I can't see you. All right, let me.
Come on, Sonny. Hey.
Neil, can you? There's always something going on with this transmission. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Oh, Neil, can I be honest?
What's that? Yeah, you crack on.
Oh man, well, I know we're going to be talking about what was climbing a mountain, talk about resilience, but one of the things, I've got many interests. One of them is I'm a big fan of Bollywood, and unfortunately, it's terrible news. This young actor, Sushant Singh Rajput, who is a rising star of Bollywood, only 34, committed suicide.
Wow.
Honestly, I only heard yesterday afternoon through social media from somebody there, who just announced the news, and it's absolutely devastating. I mean, this young man had everything at his feet, absolutely everything: money, wealth, stardom, fame, lots and lots of fans, highly respected. He was a very decent man. You can tell from the way he interviewed, the way he acted, the roles that he did, and and I have to say, it just left me devastated yesterday. And this morning I was quite upset. I'm just thinking, Neil, yet another young man just decided to take his life. And so I wrote a post last night on Instagram. So I wrote that last night, and to be honest with you, I've just produced a video which I'm going to possibly put on Instagram, but I'll put it on my other social media, just so as we all become aware of two things, basically, about the importance of process. Managing our thoughts, because it's our thoughts that ultimately, if we don't manage them, will then engender an emotional response, will then cause a decision. And then there's action and consequence that can either be virtuous or vicious. And then also about the importance of communicating, even if you have to communicate to yourself or write something down or talk to a trusted person, because those actions that happen after a long process, someone decides to commit suicide, they ultimately come from thoughts. And so I just was really upset yesterday, I must say. I just couldn't. I was emotional, I was in some distress. I had to reach out to other people on social media who had also heard about it, who were also equally distressed at what they heard. And it just throws up, Neil, the whole thing about what is happening, what is going on. And particularly, I know it happens with men and women, I understand that, but for some reason, it's rising for young men. And there could be lots of reasons. That could be a whole other segment that we might want to do, Neil. But do you have any thoughts on that, my friend? I'm sorry, I might not be fully buzzing and jumping up the ceiling today, but I'll just be totally honest with you, my friend.
I think the thing is with it is, I think even if you look at it in terms of if you're looking at sort of like men, and it's not a very nice word to elaborate on, but when you think about like the word abuse, and people, I think there's more of a percentage of men that don't come forward through embarrassment, you know,
Yeah.
of abuse and things like that. And obviously, again, something like that would sort of impact on someone's mental health, which could obviously lead to sort of suicide and stuff like that. And I think the real message is that, you know, if you're having some sort of troubling times, is just to make sure, like I said, that you're reaching out and you're sort of talking to people that you can trust.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes, if you're going through hard times, without sort of actually wittily knowing, is that your group could be quite toxic. So it's not going to serve you in the way that maybe like an impartial voice may do.
Yeah, and you know, it may well be that that impartial voice could be someone that is still relatively new in your life, someone that you've not known for very long, maybe just for a few years or a few months, compared to people that you've known for 20, 30, 40 years.
Exactly.
It's so important to be able to, when you do talk to that trusted person, that you do fully trust them, and they can give you that confidentiality. The last thing you want is for any personal disclosure that you don't want it to be broadcasted, then somehow finds its way around social circles, and then people start, you know, saying things, and you get upset by it because I thought I told my friend in confidence. So it's really important. But yeah, you know, when you sometimes get a thunderbolt that just hits you, and you know, I've had to be really present, because you know, I'm normally a very upbeat person, very positive, and I always look at the positive things in life. But I'm telling you, when I heard the news, I was in shock. Because for me, I said, okay, it's on social media, but I need to check BBC News. If it's on BBC News, then I'll believe it then. Sorry. So I thought, if it's on the BBC, then right, that's it, right? It's like, that's it. It's happened. And then obviously when I then I went on to the Indian media, so they're just completely going gaga over this, and they're pointing out that again, Neil, the full story hasn't come out yet. I think it will come out eventually, but what they're alluding to, reportedly, that it could be down to maybe depression, maybe quite deep depression. But you know, that's the thing, you see, Neil. You know, I mean, I will show you a couple of videos of his songs and things, so you kind of get an idea of who this guy was. So I appreciate you probably never heard of him, or you never seen him. But honestly, he was so decent. He was very generous. He was extremely popular, very, very popular. And you know, and then you think, there's no way someone like that could take such a step. But then again, you just don't know. There's obviously how they present themselves externally, but you don't know what's going on inside. That's why it's so important to check inside what's happening, because it's that then determines your choices and how you behave and how you respond to certain situations and challenges. And I suppose, Neil, what we're trying to do is we're trying to just through this, you know, through this series, our episodes, just to open things up. And if anybody's watching this, or they're going to watch the recording of it, please, if anybody you know or yourself, you're in that situation where you're just feeling down, depressed, you're just thinking things through, you're thinking, is the vicious step the right one for me? Just stop yourself in the moment, break your state, take a deep breath, reach out for someone, reach out to me, reach out to Neil, reach out to a trusted person, and just stop that thought in its tracks. Stop that process, and then come out of it. Because there's so many people have opened up to me saying that I nearly did it, I nearly committed suicide, I had this problem, I had that issue. So you know, when things happen, everybody begins to open up and they start sharing their own journeys. And then this is how you learn from other people's stories. There's no shame in anything these days. There's absolutely no shame. You mentioned abuse. Again, we don't know the full story behind this gentleman. We know that he had a tumultuous, according to the press, you know, allegedly a tumultuous relationship with a girlfriend that was on and off. So we don't know if that contributed to it. But, you know, we don't know, Neil, whether because he wasn't working for the last 3 months, because he was in, you know, working very hard in his filming roles, whether that affected him, not having, you know, his identity was taken away because of the pandemic, couldn't work, couldn't do shoots, etc. But you know what? It's quite telling, because in his last Twitter or Instagram, because unfortunately his mom passed away. I'm not sure when, but I think he was reminiscing, and he was hinting about life and death, but nobody could have thought that this is the thing that he was going to do, more or less, after sending that particular post. His dad is devastated, his family devastated. It's a horrible thing to see, and I would not want anyone, male or female, to go through this, or their families to go through it. Which is why people like us, life coaches, you know, we're here to listen, we're here to understand, we're here to try to help people work through what's happening in their mind, so then they can then get clarity, clearance, help them move forward. Sorry, my friend, that's a bit of a long answer to how I'm feeling, but I just thought, in loose men style, I need to tell you, I thought I need to talk to Neil about this.
Yeah, you just need to let it out.
Yeah.
I think the thing is
with
it, when you come back to that whole concept of what we were going to look at today, though, and when you think about sort of like climbing mountains, and I think, I mean, I can definitely relate to a period of my life where I suppose really, I think maybe like the sort of I think my whole life's been climbing a mountain, really. Yeah, you know, like you said, it's.
I'm there, bro. High fives, man. So when we going trekking then?
Yeah, that's it. It's just I don't know, you know, like when you do look at that sort of like that phrase, you know, like I said, you know, climbing a mountain and things like that. But I think yeah, definitely. I think if you're quite an ambitious, or you're quite a determined sort of person, I think every daily sort of obstacle is an obstacle closer to climbing that peak of that mountain. But I don't know about yourself, but I mean, I can definitely look back at points of my life and say I got to the top of the mountain, but I certainly haven't stood still on top of that mountain, because I think, again, life will deal you another obstacle that you then have to reevaluate, assess it. Okay, what's the damage, or what's the positives? You know, so here you go again. You've got to start that new journey up the mountain. But I think the scenery changes. I think the smells change. I think the weather changes. Everything changes on that new path to the mountain.
Especially yesterday, the weather was like, I thought it was nice and lovely. I sat outside, and then the heavens opened and it battered all the garden furniture. Oh my God, where did that happen? And then after that, I heard the news. I thought, oh my God, maybe it's a sign. I don't know. But yeah, now, you know, Neil, I mean, this is why you're a fantastic producer for this show, and you come up with the content, my friend. I just love the analogy with the mountain. Yeah, because what we want to do is make sure that, you know, if we are, you know, we're on a journey, and I believe that life is an incremental climb. You know, it is an incremental climb, and sometimes, if you think about it physically, the more steeper the climb, then it's going to be a lot harder. You exert more energy, you put more power into it, and then sometimes it's nice when it plateaus off, and then you think, you think, oh, it's all flat now, and then you get to a point, oh my God, here we go. I probably will find out for myself, because my children and I are going to be going trekking somewhere in the UK, weather permitting, on next Sunday. So, it's like in life sometimes. You know, sometimes we find to keep the life going, we have to take such monumental, huge leaps that we have to exert so much effort, but we don't get very far. But we still have to take those steps. But then sometimes life is such where it's more plateaued, we walk faster, which means that we're able to do things quickly and efficiently and productively. But still, the trajectory is still going up. And what and particularly, you know, when we're going to be taking those really tough steps, and they're the most important ones, like, I don't know, you know, starting a new job, or starting a new career, or, you know, maybe you're starting a new relationship, or maybe you're ending a relationship. It's a huge step, or getting a divorce, for example. It's a huge step. It takes lots of effort. But then again, the thing is, if we don't know how to take the step, or we don't get support in how to take the step, then we'll stay stuck. And then we're going to be letting life pass us by. And then we're just going to be in that sort of cocoon thing where we're probably more in a fixed state, and we just would rather not do any more steps because it's too hard, it's too this, and therefore I'll stay as I am. But then again, the risk that people run is that they're not growing. And are they actually going to be happy by being static rather than to keep in an upward kind of, you know, to be always moving? And for me, constant change is the constant. I think particularly the last 5 years, my resilience has strengthened and my energy levels have gone up because I've reached a point through my divorce and midlife that I was really stuck on that mountain. I was like calling mountain rescue, where are you? You know, that's it. Mountain rescue, where are you know? But then again, I still found that I didn't have to call mountain rescue. I had to just somehow, but I had a leg up, you know, I had a leg up from family, from friends to say, come on, Sonny, you can do this. But it took so much effort. But sometimes we need the help from other people to get up that mountain. And this is where like, people like us or friends can help, you know, if you reach out to them and they can help. My friend, yeah, I love the analogy. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Sometimes getting a helping hand can be from the person that's caused the actual conflict in you in the first place.
Yeah.
Or the situation or the work situation. Because I truly believe, like I said, that I do definitely look that if you can actually identify the actual value of that lesson.
Yeah.
And when you look up at that mountain, so let's say for instance, I don't know, let's say for instance, we've got a man and a woman and they're going to get divorced. Okay. I think it could be horrifying. Obviously yourself, you said that you've gone through it.
Yeah.
I've never been married, but okay. I've had breakups. And I would like to say that I'm definitely not the master of breakups, but here we go. I'm just using a situation, but it's quite scary because all of a sudden your comforts are taken away from you, and you're that person on your own. And I think when you look at the mountain that's in front of you, it's horrifying. Like I said, you know, when you imagine all those people that do climb mountains, you know, you've got the fear of heights, you've got the altitude, you've got the environment, you've got all of these different factors. Yeah. And when you think about life, you know, like I said, here you are. One day everything is you're present with the situation, and all of a sudden it disappears. Yeah. So your mountain ahead is going to be quite a hard journey. But I think one thing I've learned from my life is that sometimes with the people that or the situation that I've been involved in, it's the catalyst for me to turn around and say, hey, do you know what? I'm going to walk that mountain.
Love it.
I'm going to walk it because do you know what? The amount of times in my life I've heard people turn around and say to me that you're not this and you're not that, and do you know what? Every obstacle that I've faced, I've gone off and I've proved them wrong.
And my friend, what an amazing achievement! The fact that we are both here doing what we're doing now is I mean, you've probably climbed Everest 10 times, my friend. You know, for you to be. And probably me 20 times probably a lot more in my case, you know, to be able to be in a position where we've experienced a lot of life, and then we're in that really unique position to be able to offer insight and support to other people. You know, absolutely, Neil, you just hit it on the head. I'm going to walk that mountain. You said that so assertively and precisely and succinctly. Sometimes I wish lots of people could do that, because then they wouldn't find themselves being stuck. And then when you're stuck, you then make sometimes wrong decisions or devastating ones, like the one that you know I heard with this Bollywood actor. And you know what? I mean, because I'm a keen trekker. I mean, I've not been able to go trekking all year. I think I've got trekking withdrawal symptoms, but I'm going to be going on Sunday, hopefully. See what happens with the weather. But sometimes I have been on some tricky treks, pardon the expression, and there's some in Wales I've been to, and I'll tell you, sometimes you think that the wind's battering you, there's all these elements, again, like you said, all the elements, but then what I do, I'm so mindful, I say, okay, I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to take this step, I'm going to go on that route, Might take me longer, but I'm still going to be heading in the direction. And you know what? Sometimes I've had to go back. I say, right, it's not safe. There's too much ice here. You know, if I carry on, I could fall right down. So therefore, I go back, which means there's no problem in taking some backward steps. For example, stepping down from a high position in a job, or, you know, stepping down from one's responsibilities, maybe at home, in terms of you're working, you're living with a partner. There's some things that you're not physically able to do because of time or stress. So that's fine. Just come to an agreement, but understanding it's okay to take steps back. But as long as you learn from the stepping back, and then you find another route that might take you longer, but it could be more successful. Now, this analogy also relates to things like fitness and weight training, you know, weight loss and training. Because I mentioned to you that, you know, I wouldn't say I've had weight problems in my life, but particularly when I'm busy working, I might not be so mindful with my exercise and eating and so on. But since January, I've lost 2.5 stone. So from about 15 stone to about 12.5. And so, but then again, what I've realized is I'm going to do it slowly. I'm not going to do the, you know, like any fads or this type of diet, this one, this keto, this, that keto, that. I thought, no, 1/2 pound or 1 pound a week, a little bit of intermittent fasting, healthy fresh fruit, vegetables, one main meal eaten before a certain time, and then, you know, and then I don't eat till about 12 in the afternoon later on. And that's helping me in light walks. Now I've found another route where I can stay healthy and, you know, with my advancing age, but it's going to take me longer, but I don't mind it because I know I'm going to get to my destination. And my goal is to be around 11.5, 11 stone. And I'm going to do it. It's obviously slow, but I'm happier doing that. And that's okay as well in life. Go the long route. You might learn a lot more from the time that you might need more time to do the learning. People might need time to become more resilient. And sometimes the actual shortcuts are not always the way forward. Sometimes we've got to go the long way round. But you know what? We should never, ever stop walking. Keep that momentum going. No matter which direction it's going, eventually let it go in a positive direction.
I think the thing is with it as well, though, I think, like I said, when you look at it in terms of that mountain, you know, and I suppose, like I said, even like now, like I said, you know, I don't know about yourself, but like I said, but there's a mountain, you know, there's a mountain in front of me in terms of sort of like what I'm looking sort of forward at. And the thing is with it, but the thing is you should enjoy it. You should enjoy the process. You should embrace you at the start of that journey, because when you do get to the top of the mountain, and you can look back and you can think to yourself, do you know what? Actually, I proved to myself that, hey, do you know what? Okay, it might take you 10 interviews before you get your perfect job.
Yeah.
Every time you're ticking one off, and then you finally get that job offer, everything then just clicks in and you think, oh my God, it was all worth it. It was all worth it.
Yeah.
You know, whether yourself you're trying to lose that weight, or whether you're trying to maybe kind of reevaluate yourself coming out from a relationship, for instance, or whatever. Every single point that you take to get to that mountain, once you get to the top of it and you finally realise, actually, do you know what? I've identified again who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's the most important person, you know, like I said, and it's not being selfish, it's taking time. And again, you know, I think things that we're talking about repeat themselves over the weeks, but again, it's taking that time to get to know you.
No, I think some things do have to be talked about. I think definitely, you know, this is the thing, you know, us, you know, we are the ones who make the life. So we are the most important people in our own lives. And if we don't look after ourselves, if we don't check in with ourselves, if we don't keep our glasses overflowing rather than let other people suck us dry, then it's essentially, you know, then yeah. The fact that we're climbing a mountain, you're so conscious of you on that journey. You're so present. I mean, I'm very mindful, particularly when the terrain gets a bit choppy, or the weather suddenly changes, or battered by rain, got to put the waterproofs on. So these are things that we have to do in life, where we do have to take precautions, and we do have to have other strategies or other things. Oh, hi, Irina. She's Irina as well. Well done. Thank you very much. Welcome. So we do have to do that. And you are right. It is about identity forming. The whole journey is identity forming and confidence building, character building, and resilience building as well. And yes, you're right. Isn't it marvelous? Even if we take a rest, you know, halfway up, we look down. Oh my God, we walk so much, and it's incredible. It really is incredible.
Have you ever had a time where, and I won't ask you to divulge, okay, but imagine a situation in your life, okay, imagine a situation maybe that's happened in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a point away from that 10 years where you've just sat still one day and you've just smiled and thought, oh my God, I got through it.
That's a really, and being loose men, I'm going to tell you like it is, call a thing a thing. Absolutely. I mean, I have to say, in the last few years of my life, I've been doing that a lot more often, and I wish I did it a lot more often before. It's a very because you know, when we're in the treadmill of life, and yes, sometimes if you keep climbing, keep doing, you want this, you want that, blah 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 blah, you know, better house, better car, more money, this isn't that for your children. Okay, that's fine, but give yourself a breather. You need to take stock of everything and reflect on your journey, because otherwise, what is the point of the slog? The slog has got to be worth it. You know, what is the point? And you know what, I used to feel guilty just not doing anything, but I don't feel guilty anymore, because, you know, yesterday was well, I mean, you know, before I heard the news yesterday afternoon, from Sunday morning till the afternoon, I had a very relaxing time. I was just reading, doing my social media work, having nice cups of tea, chilling out, putting my feet up. So I was having, my son was, he was on a trek, so he wasn't at home. So I had the house to myself. And so I was just chilling, and I was reflecting, oh my God, I've done this, I did this journey, I've done that. It's nice to just sit in the bliss. Sit in the bliss. I've just made that up. Neil, you are inspiring me to make new phrases, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for me, I think one of the, I've had many chapters to my life, I think, as anybody would, but I've certainly had what I would call some very detailed chapters. All great chapters in their own right. You know, this is all of those chapters have got me to this point in my life. But I think one pivotal one was when I got diagnosed with epilepsy, and it came out of the flu, like I said, but it taught me something. You know, I rejected that person that had to start taking tablets, because I was 34 and I was like, oh my God, like, what have I got to take tablets for, you know? But then the whole period of that journey of not being able to drive, not being able to do this, not being able to do that, you know, I was what I would call a mature adult, you know, I was 34 years old, just come out of education. But it taught me a lot, like I said, in that age, is that you've got to be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have to sometimes allow our bodies or our minds, we have to give it some rest. Sometimes, you know, sometimes the body tells us it wants a rest. And you know what happens if we don't give ourselves time, then the body will demand the time later on, which is why I took the step in January. I thought, right, I need to do something here. I don't feel right. I think I've put on fair bit of weight, and I think you know, I'm not doing enough exercise because of my very busy you know freelancing lifestyle, traveling everywhere, hotels, blah 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 blah, restaurants here, hotels there, and you know, it's very difficult to build a healthy lifestyle. But now I think with the lockdown and everything being organic and freshly cooked and plenty of time to exercise and have a good balance, now that's going to take precedence over me doing all this kind of work in the future. It really is, I think, because you've really got to give your body time to heal and rest. And sometimes it's hard to do that when there's all these external pressures. But remember, it's you who needs to look after you first. And I mean, I don't know, sorry, you have to apologize for my ignorance, Neil. I don't know much about epilepsy, but I do know, having worked with students who have epilepsy, that it's something that just happens. It's not necessarily to do with genetics or environment. It's just one of those things that happens. I mean, it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. So therefore, when that does happen, it's about other people being aware and also being very supportive, but also, you know, taking whatever steps one needs to take to be able, and obviously with epilepsy, just people being aware that if anyone did have a fit, then they need to best support that person as they're going through it. But you know, but then the point that you're making really is about there are certain things that happen to you on the journey, climbing a mountain, like suddenly being battered by wind and rain. You've just got to be ready. You've just got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared for knocks. You've got to be prepared for things going wrong. There's no guarantees about my health and well-being. I'm doing whatever I can proactively, but there's no guarantees. But this is why it's so important that as you're walking the journey on the mountain, be mindful, enjoy every single foot going forward, every minute step, toe by toe movements, whatever it is, that momentum. Just enjoy it, you know. Like now, I'm enjoying myself talking to you, Neil, and that's all that matters right now in the moment. And this is part of me climbing a mountain, because definitely we want to reach out to people. We want to be able to share our knowledge and understanding of life, about the world, about behavior, and so then we can then be, you know, we can obviously be of best service to people if they needed to speak to us, if they felt that, you know, we could help them in some shape or form.
It's interesting you saying this, okay? But I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're only like 19, 20 years old, and I was saying to them that actually, do you know what? If you really put your all into the next 10 years, you could probably get to yourself at a point where in the next 10 years you could probably buy a house. You could probably pretty much in the next 10 years, if you play your cards right and you work at it, you could really adapt in the next 10 years, and you could probably be 30 years old and pretty much have no mortgage left. You could have this, you could have that, you could have this. I can't do that, I won't be able to do that, I won't be able to do that. Well, yes, you could. Because I think this is where, and this is a point that we made weeks and weeks ago, is that there's no education to life. Everybody's geared up. Everybody's geared up that they have to go to school, they have to pass their exams, they then have to do this, they then have to do that. But there's no education to turn around and say, actually, do you know what? If you leave school, don't ever get a credit card. If you're going to get a credit card, do it because you really need it. Don't just get a credit card because you've now turned 18. If you don't need it, don't take it, because you don't need it. But all of these little things come along because you're now starting that little journey. Well, that's just that to me is like a little bit of a devil on your shoulder to life, saying, hey, do you know what? You're about to start this little mountain of your life, but do you actually even know what that mountain's about?
Very good point. Very powerful.
Because when we were talking about it weeks ago, we were saying, would you go back to that? If I was to go right back to me now at 18 or 19, I would do differently, because there's no need.
Tell me about it. How long have you got?
I said, but the thing is with it is that if someone had educated me, it all took me under, and this is where I think mentoring, coaching, life coaching, whatever you want to call us. But if you had a mentor that was assigned to you, you know, from day dot, and you had someone telling you about all of these different things, your brain can then expand to what's in front of you, and then you can start creating that mountain to work for you. Because believe it or not, at the age of 20, people might say, oh, well, you know, I know everything. They don't know anything. They don't know everything. They're just starting to get a snippet. Just snippet to life.
That's so powerful, Neil. My goodness me, another thunderbolt. You've made me think about a few things there. First of all, when I think about my own journey, I sometimes think, oh my God, why didn't I climb that mountain in this way in the first 50 years of my life, or whatever, you know, I'm 51 now, or whatever, the last 20, 30 years, why didn't I climb it in this way? However, even though, as you said, nobody showed us how to climb a mountain, we obviously know that there is a mountain ahead of us. We know now, for whatever, however long we've got on this earth, on this planet, we know that so we can now plan the routes ourselves for ourselves. You know, we are in full control of doing that. If we need to get advice from anyone, we can do that. But we can now continue to see the summit or get there, and the summit may not have been achievable because we never even knew about the mountain in the first place. But now we know about how the mountains work. There's a summit there, whatever it is, mortgage paid off, or get a better job, or start a new career, or get a bigger house, or, you know, have a new relationship, or get married, have children, whatever it might be, you know, for people in general. So, and that's something that I'm very, very aware of, that there is a mountain, and I'm going to now, by God, I'm going to be planning that route. And I should know better, because I'm actually a Duke of Edinburgh Gold Award recipient. I know all about compass settings and bearings and planning the route, Neil, step by step by step. And but it's so important that, from the point that you made, is we see a mountain ahead from now, you know, from what the age that you're at now and where you're going and where I'm going as well, but also for the younger generation that we are supporting, we're coaching, we're mentoring. I think it's, you know, I have never thought about this, but you really put something in my subconscious mind now that I need to tell my two children, 23 and 18, about mountains. So I've been explaining things to them in a way that's talking about incremental progression, but they'll probably understand it better if I presented a little diagram showing a mountain and the different steps and things. And yes, I mean, when I think about my own son, he's going to be graduating in the next few weeks, and then he's already got a job lined up in London. And he said to me, "Dad, I want to save money up for a deposit for a house." This is fantastic. But he doesn't know about the ins and outs of mortgages, and then the financial strain it can put on people if it's not managed properly. You know, so therefore, I need to do that exercise. That's a really brilliant, 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 masterful point, my friend. Really good. Love that.
Again, when you think about it, like I said, and you think about, you know, I mean, I suppose, like I said, I mean, I said to my girlfriend the other day, actually, that I think that actually I've been working myself for so long that finally you get to a point where I think people find it early on in life, but I took a different route. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to explore things and stuff like that. Brilliant. Then I chose education at a later point in my life. But I went on that journey for me. Yeah. There was no one around that sort of told me why you want to do this, or what, you know, or maybe go and do this. It was something that I wanted to do. And I think going back to that point in terms of sort of what I said about, you know, none of us really had that mentor. Or I can remember saying last year to a young girl, you don't even know what life's even about yet, but you're angry at the world, but you're angry, you know, but actually, do you know what? Take a step back and just realize you're just starting to get a snippet of what life's about, because life can bring you stress. Yeah. Life can bring you anxiety. I'm not stressed, but do you even know what stress is yet? Because now you're starting to see that actually life isn't just as straightforward as what you think it is. Because if you go back to that 80% I was saying in your mind, it still even now wants to huddle you. It wants to turn around and tell you that you're safe. But actually what happens is, as you start growing up and you start getting the L plates of life are being removed, there you go. Step through the door. Now the 80% is really going to kick in, because it's like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then if you're not careful, you can, like you said, you can start, you know, earlier on, you can start feeling a bit depressed. You might start feeling a bit of anxiety, but you don't even really know why is it you're feeling like that, because you haven't had that experience yet. Yeah.
I mean, because I do a few collaborations, and I'm working with a philosopher, thought leader. So it's really interesting to hear some of the philosophical insights about life. And one thing he said to me in a recent podcast we did recently about ego versus intuition, because you're mentioning the 80-20 thing. He said, well, Sunil, you've got to be able to look at the role and the influence of culture in our society and how it affects us as individuals, how we respond. And you know, like, sometimes, you know, I think, Neil, for years I beat myself up. Why wasn't I mentored like? Why wasn't I coached like this? Like, why? And he said to me, well, it just wasn't the culture. You know, culturally, if you think about it, the whole life coaching industry, personal development, I think it took off in America probably in the 70s and the 80s. And then it gradually found its way, like a lot of things do, into the UK. So I think the last 20 years, more and more people in the UK have become life coaches. They've become people who are, you know, who are able to talk about personal development, help other people. I think you're seeing it reflected in schools now, where there's more support. Pastoral support has definitely increased, and particularly pastoral support for individuals with specific individual learning needs, where before they're all clumped together. But you know, I think as cultures begin to change, and we definitely have more of a cultural revolution now in personal development, and that is going to increase. There's going to be more and more people becoming life coaches, more people needing mentoring and coaching. And but I think, and I truly believe this. I'm just going to put it out there, Neil, being loose men, you know, I have to say there are probably things in my educational background that firmly I started off. I never asked for it, but I was put in a deficit model. You know, I was plonked in a deficit model, poor schooling. You know, there wasn't any nurturing available or anything like that. You know, it was sometimes could be a highly toxic environment where it really wasn't suitable for personal growth and development and growth mindset work. However, I would not change it for anything, because if it wasn't for that deficit model that I was exposed to, I now have lots of keys that I have at my disposal that I can put into this course, this conversation, this social media post, that I can then start to help unlock people understanding about things, release the fog, and then help them to realize something. So if anything, that wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't be able to hold them keys if I hadn't have been to a deficit model to be able to know what the answers are. So now, I mean, I became the life coach I never had, the mentor I never had, the teacher I never had, because I'm now practicing it with others. And I have to, the thing what I do now, because the cultural issues that I mentioned historically, I've come to that realization and acceptance, particularly in my midlife about 5 years ago. I was thinking, why? But I've come to that realization and acceptance now that that's the reason why you weren't exposed. But however, there are a million zillion moments now that you can now use this knowledge and insight and help people, help the world, encourage people to think differently than what they are now.
How many times maybe when you were growing up, I mean, I can certainly remember when I was growing up, how many times did you, when you had your first relationship or your second or your third, and you'd come back in and you'd tail between your legs and you'd be like, oh my God, mum, it's over. Oh, son, it's normal. It's part of life. Well, you know what, actually, if you'd had somebody there to turn around and say to you, do you know what, relationships are going to bring a little bit of this. Relationships are going to bring a little bit of that. Because even now at the age of 41, you're still learning.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just part of life, you know. Actually, it's more about actually. Do you know what? This is where I feel like when you look at it in terms of creating your own mountain, is be aware of what obstacles may lie ahead on that mountain.
Yeah.
Be aware. Yeah. Do you know what? If you do take that credit card at the age of 18, keep it there, because you know what I mean. But it's all of these little things that when you think about it, when you walk out of those gates at school, and I'm going back 20 years, I wasn't prepared for that. Told me about creating a mountain and what sort of journeys, because I think again I made this point a few weeks ago, and I'm going to use the word ignorance, but correct me if I'm wrong. But because you become ignorant that this is what life is. You just get up, you function, you go to work, you do this, you do that. You plan to go to university, you spend 4 years at university. In those 4 years, you might get drunk, you might have some good times, you might have relationship, you might even not flunk university. You then come back, you find another job. But what's going on in all of the middle of this? Because all we're doing is just going around a washing machine.
But my friend, as in true loose men style, like in this moment right now, with yourself being a life coach, etc., do you think would you still be happy to call it ignorance or call it life?
I don't know if it's. I don't know if I'm using the wrong word. What I'm saying is, it's like
no, it's not using the wrong word. I'm just saying, you know, what would you know? It's kind of looking at dimensions here.
I think sometimes I think sometimes we're all guilty that we just go into autopilot. And if you consider the Matrix, for instance, here you go, the Matrix. You take the blue pill, the red
That's
pill.
a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, we got a question. We got life here. Elena's put life. What I'm saying is that they chose to step out and actually say, do you know what, I'm going to have the blue pill because I want to know what it's all about. Or they could have taken the red pill and just carried on that autopilot because no one's bothering you, because that's what you think it is. You just think that you can just do this and everything's going to be fine. But what the point I'm going to lead up to is, and I agree with what Elena said, is that you have to be bloody aware we're limited. We're limited. Whatever that mountain is that's in front of you, it might take you 10 years, it might take you 20 years, it might take you 30 years, but you may never get another mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's only one mountain to climb. That's life. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's be aware of that mountain. Be aware of what is in front of you. Be aware and actually maybe set a goal. You know, if you are planning on doing this, make sure that you put it on there, but also make sure that you have a plan B in place.
Absolutely. No, that's so. You know, you're talking there about preparedness and planning. Now, when I actually transfer that, if I extrapolate from that and talk about planning and preparing for a real trek, like which is I'm going to start doing towards the end of the week when we go trekking on Sunday. Weather permitting, though, Neil, you just don't know how these things are going to. But then again, I know that even though the weather forecast could be saying it's bright, I will still take my waterproofs. I'll still take 3 pairs of extra socks with me. Because the worst thing you can do is drive back 2 hours and your feet are soaking wet because you haven't got a change of stuff, you know. So there are things like that you know, that we ourselves as individuals, as human beings, as men or whatever on this planet, on this journey, we are always going to be prepared for every moment. Now, from now on, we're prepared for anything. So we're prepared, and I think that preparedness is important because there is that saying, I may have used this before, I don't mean to sound like a cliche, but fail to plan, plan to fail. Yeah. Fail to plan, plan. We use it a lot in teaching. Fail to plan, plan to fail. And in many respects, that if we have lived a life, regrets, good things, bad times, which I believe for me it's life. It's just life. You know, just to accept it as life. Whatever happens, it's just life. Okay, this is what life is for you. Therefore, I understand lots of things. I'm still learning more, but I tell you what, I'm just going to make damn sure that I'm preparing myself for mountain rescue to come and collect me. So I must make sure, because you just don't know what's going to happen. I never called them before. I nearly did 2 years ago, but that's another Loose Man episode. Oh my God, my life came out of my mouth, I'm telling you, but that's a whole new episode. But I make sure I've got my mint cake in there if I'm stuck, or I've got first aid kit, I've got plenty of water, I've got my extra supplies of you know, snacks and things, waterproofs, extra clothing, you know, a spare pair of gloves, or whatever I need. I've just got everything, spare pair of clothes, just in case things, you know, turn nasty out there. But I know that my preparedness and planning is also going to play a major role in how I climb the rest of the journey. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes you don't have to plan and prepare. You just got to be thinking about things in the moment. Just be mindful. Yeah. And honestly, it's not powerful. Sorry.
Okay. So going back to that point you said to me, and I know Elena put on here. That's
okay. This is the options. Like, yeah.
So, did you see that scar there? Everybody that's watching, I've got a scar on my face. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I never noticed that before. Yeah.
So I'm 19 years old now in my life. 19 years old, and I was told, you know what? Have you ever thought about riding horses? So I started to ride horses. Okay. Oh. Now at 19 years old, and this is the point I was trying to get to. Okay, is that I jumped on a racehorse. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. It was exciting. I thought, oh my God, I can get on a racehorse. Yeah. But 20 years on, when I look back now, okay, if someone had turned around and said to me, actually, do you know what? And I really did think about it and actually related more to the dangerous side of it, would I have got a scar on my face? So was I living life? Because that's life. You just go onto autopilot. You're just doing it. But what I'm saying is, if it had now 20 years when I look back, I could have most probably, if I'd have took my time and actually just looked at the mountain and just thought, do you know what? Okay, yeah, this is good. I need to bear in mind a bit more because I'm quite out there. I'll do that. I'll go surfing. I'll jump off a cliff. So I'm quite loose to life.
I understand, but can you just explain? You know, you mentioned the scar. So did you have an accident at 19 on a horse?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Understand.
I got kicked in the face. I got kicked in the face by a horse. So obviously, and I was nearly killed by it. I was nearly killed by that horse. Now, 20 years on, I still love horses. But if I had somebody that was younger than me in my years, the first thing I would always turn around and say to them is lovely they are, but they're dangerous animals.
But isn't that okay? I mean, I'm really sorry to hear that happen to you. I mean, I can imagine it must have been really painful at that time, and obviously, it wasn't. But you almost died. You said you almost got killed.
I was asleep. I just woke up.
Oh my gosh! But then the thing is, though, isn't it powerful that you are able to reflect on that incident, and you're able to extract the lessons from it, and with those lessons, you're going to be probably saving someone's life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. But but this is what I'm saying. But when I look at that mountain at 19, it was exciting. It was the excitement. Oh my God, I can ride a horse. I can do it. What I'm trying to say is I didn't prepare and I didn't have Plan B in my head. I'm not saying we should all jump off and go, oh my God, and start panicking. But what I'm saying is, if I just took a step to the side and actually thought to myself, do you know what? They are actually really dangerous animals. I've got to have my guard up.
The thing is, though, this actually throws up. I don't know whether there might be another segment that we might want to do on it, but it throws up for me. It's a very, very, very subliminal, deep point you're raising about the power of spontaneity. Because if we don't allow ourselves to be spontaneous, life is going to be really boring and predictable, and that could bring its own mental health issues, right? But then again, sometimes, I mean, I sometimes, me and my university friends, we had such a mad time of it. I mean, that's a whole new other segment as well. But we think, how did we survive university? We should have been killed like 10 times, This and that. Honestly, I sometimes. But then the thing is, though, it's about I don't know, taking calculated risks because there is a role of spontaneity. It adds a new dimension. We love things sometimes. Sometimes I say the best things in life are spontaneous. But I suppose now, we still can enjoy things which are unpredictable when they just happen. But just being in the moment of the spontaneity, making sure that we steer within it and we don't get carried away. But the thing is, though, sometimes when we're younger, we're not, our subconscious minds are not fully developed. We're just thinking one way, want it. And so my impulsivity, I think you're a lot better than me. Mine sort of ran out of steam at 45 eventually. Should have been bloody 25, but there you go. So I was always, impulsive, want to do this, want to do that, not thinking subconsciously. And very much, I want it now. I see it, I want it. That's when my ego got too big, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm trying to keep a balance between ego and intention. But that's a very important point, the role of spontaneity. And, we can't live predictable, boring lives. We need a bit of fun. But it's about taking risks, maybe risk management. I don't know. Very good point. Very good point, Neil. Really good point.
But the thing is, so I like surfing. And 10 years ago, when I used to go surfing a lot, I would never have a problem with getting in the water and going for maybe a 5 or 6 foot wave if the conditions were right. I never had a problem with that. Wow. Now if I went surfing, I'm quite happy with a 3 foot. 3 foot. Yeah. Doesn't sound a lot, but it is a lot. But I'm quite happy with that because as I went through with my blinkers on, that's a better way of looking at it. Because sometimes you get your blinkers on to life because you get so excited and you don't really think about anything else.
Yeah, your subconscious mind's made redundant.
Yeah. It hurts when you fall off that wave. Believe it or not, it hurts when you fall off that wave. You don't fall off. So I know, you know what? That's my limit. But 20 years ago, I was just like, oh, hey, it's not a problem. It's good. But actually, do you know what? When I used to come in sometimes, I used to think to myself, oh my God, that was quite frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you know, 2 years ago when I went on a treacherous trek and the weather just turned so nasty. It was a massive trek in Wales, and I'm thinking, oh my, and when I reflect back, how did I survive that? You know, I shouldn't have survived it because it was terrible, because it was icy, it was unpredictable, it was very choppy. But you know what? The thing is though, when you're in that situation, something kicks in that just keeps you going, whether maybe it was my ego saying, you've got to survive, you've got to survive, you've got to survive. So ego can be really helpful. And I think what it is, what's probably happened there with your, you know, it's from the 5 foot to the 3 foot wave management is that you probably, sorry, well, I know, I'm a language creator. So, you know, it's probably like, yeah, I want you to enjoy it. I want you to enjoy being out there on the waves, but just be careful, just be mindful that, you know, maybe you're not able to do that. And so for me, I still want to conquer the mountain that I properly, you know, that nearly finished me off 2.5 years ago. I still want to conquer it properly, and I will conquer it, but obviously not without great deal of preparedness, and it may take me longer, and I may have to do more planning and training and preparation beforehand, but I know I'll do it. Absolutely. So I do have some actual mountain goals, you know, proper, like, you know, I want to climb Mount Toubkal. Mount Toubkal's in Morocco, in the Atlas Mountains, in Marrakesh to be more specific. And so we planned the trek 2.5 years ago. The planning and preparation was shoddy and completely inadequate. Don't know how we survived that as well, to be honest with you. But I know when I eventually conquer it, maybe, well, definitely not this year, maybe next year, the year before, the year afterwards, it's going to be with a lot of thinking and planning. I still want to experience it, but I'm going to do it very, very carefully and in a very mindful way. So, but we still want to enjoy it, but we want to do things carefully so we don't come a cropper, as we say in England.
I mean, I just think it's interesting. I think, you know, like I said, I'm not sort of trying to overpower or put views. It's just, I think I'm just very mindful, like I said, that I've been around enough people, especially over the past couple of years in education, is that, you know, and I've had conversations with people, and that is that you know, you just have to be aware that you're just getting a snippet of life. Yeah. You know, the big door has just been made, it's just been wide open. And any experience, any trials or retributions I've gone through, you know, you're going to experience them. But you know what? If you can actually be mindful, because and actually just appreciate that door's got a lot of obstacles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wherever you start in terms of creating your mountain, just be mindful as well. Like I said, the conditions can be variable. You might have obstacles on your way, and like you said, you might have to take a respite. Yeah. It's okay to take a respite. If your mood drops, evaluate, well, why? Okay, so what's happened on this journey? What's making me feel like this?
Yeah.
You know, like I said, and again, I think it just goes back to what we said previously. It's about having a game plan. You know, and anybody can achieve any mountain. But again, be prepared that another mountain may appear.
Yeah, absolutely. And you alluded to work and employment just in what you just mentioned there, and I think it's really important that, because sometimes, you know, unwittingly, you know, when you're very passionate about your work, about your vocation, etc., etc., then that's fantastic. But what I learned in my career is that I can still be passionate, but I can be mindful about workplace politics, workplace dynamics, intrapersonal relationships between other colleagues and management and leadership, etc. That ultimately, that you want to make sure that from just talking in general, that these things don't take away your passion, and ultimately the reason why a person is in that situation is obviously equals for them money to pay their bills, which is also part of their game plan. Okay, so I've been able to. Sorry,
we've only got 10 seconds. We've only got 10 seconds left. It's
okay. Oh my God, are we out of time? Okay, no problem.
That's it. That's it.